Here at Overport Lodge in New Zealand, catching up with Mark Jones. Firstly, Mark, thanks for joining me.
No, pleasure.
What a place. I drove in the driveway. I'll be honest, I was talking to my wife on the phone and I just went, holy wow. Just even the entrance, just the start of coming in here to Overport Lodge, it's just breathtaking property.
Yeah, it is pretty nice. We're pretty lucky to purchase it a while ago, and all the hard work was done when we come here. Fella Neil Ridley, a good galloping trainer, done it and spent a lot of money on it, and he had an owner that owned the place and that, so we kind of come at the right time, and it was immaculate when we walked in. It's probably not as tidy now, but we try to do our best to keep it tidy.
You're a bit critical, I'll say that much, because I reckon it's pretty good. How many acres?
We've got 50 acres here, so it's pretty good size. And
it's all utilised. You've got a rafter. You just about got everything covered, if you like. When you come in, you've got a heap of, I suppose, paddocks with good shelters in them. Most Australians would die just to have those, and you keep the horses out in those most of the time?
Yeah, we're lucky. We've got 19, pretty much what you call day paddocks, but they're big, they're pretty big paddocks with all sheltered in each paddock. And then we got in the middle of the track, we've got about 6 big paddocks, and we've got a 14 horse barn, another, 8 or 10 horse barn as well, and we got probably 10 acres set out the back for the brood mares as well, which is just for our breeding base, so it works out quite good.
Just that little 10 horse barn, it's one over there beside me. I love it. It must be so good for, I suppose, your older geldings, Nelly, because they're locked up, kept warm, but they still get 365 degrees, and imagine they get the wind and everything like that, but it'd still be so nice for them.
Yeah, it's great. It's probably an idea I've seen in Aussie. We have them over there, which I don't like them enclosed. I like the airflow and keep them thing. And one thing, we don't get as hot as Aussie, but when it's hot, it keeps pretty cool, and it does keep them dry in the wet, and just a lot easier in those wet days to chuck them away now, and they're dry the whole time. And nothing worse bringing them from the paddock covered in mud and that. So yeah, I only put it in probably 18 months ago. It's probably one of the best things I've done.
Yeah, I love it. It was one of the things that stood out there, and I must say I did. Chris Alford's actually got one very similar to a Barry Alford. They've got one similar to it a long time ago. You also then got your shed, and the weather, it's a beautiful day here today. Everyone says to me about New Zealand weather, I can't fault it at all, but it must be sensational on those trying days, that shed that you've got there, because it's got nooks and crannies, you've got great breezeways, you've got good tie-up areas, undercover water area, you've got a walker just out the back. It must be so good to be working here on those ordinary days.
Yeah, it is. As you know, it gets pretty cold here, and we get those real cold winds, so being inside a full enclosed barn's a big help. You stay dry and no wind comes through, and there's probably 10 cross ties in there, and the warm water wash and everything, and the 10 horse walker's a big bonus, and being undercover is even better, so it's great for the horses to go on after they work, and also for the young ones, and when it's real cold and wet, that's where the horses might go for an hour just walking, so they can stay dry, and it's got rubber surfaces, so it's pretty good.
It'd be good for the staff too, I'd imagine. Staff's always hard to get no matter where you are. It doesn't matter Australia, New Zealand, anywhere, and any form of work actually at the minute. But to have people come here and want to work with horses and be able to at least get out of that trying weather from time to time. They've got to go out and work horses in it, but that doesn't matter where you are. It must be so good just to have the staff, and they'd have to be a lot happier working in this sort of environment. Yeah,
they seem good, and they seem pretty happy in there in the wet days when they send the boss out to work. So we run a pretty good ship, but you got to look after you. If you haven't got happy staff, you don't have happy horses. So put a good band of staff here, and they're good workers, and they're happy, and they keep the horses in good shape. So it's pretty cosy in that barn in the cold days for sure.
Now the track, it got me and blew me away, because we can't grow edges in Australia just the way, completely hedged right around the track. Firstly, how big? You said 960 is your work track, so how big actually is the outside track, and then I suppose the hedges outside of that again?
Yeah, I think the outside track would be close to 1,000, and we had to put the fast work track on the inside, because before we came here it was a galloping place, and the inside track was grass and the outside was deep sand, so we had to turn the grass track into the all-weather, and it's irrigated around we got full irrigation around that. So it's about 960 the inside track. We have it quite deep, we have a lot of sand on it, and make them work a bit through that. And the shelter's great, with the winds in Canterbury we get a lot, so on the windy days out there you can work and you don't feel any wind, so it's it's a big bonus.
It'd have to be unique. That was the one thing that just, when you said to me, come out here and watch, just go on the inside of it, and I just started looking at the hedge, and I was like, oh yeah. And then when you see it go right around the track, it must be very unique, I suppose, to work. You must find it foreign when you go somewhere else to work and they're completely open tracks.
Yeah, it's pretty hard when you go somewhere else in the open space and you hit the headwind, and it's pretty hard on the horses. So yeah, it's good for us. It's consistent. Like as I said, if we get a windy day, they're not working into the wind, so it's a lot easier on the horses. And yeah, it's a bit to maintain. They cost a bit to cut each year and that, but it's a one-day job to tidy up. And but as I said, it's worth its weight in gold to keep your wind away from it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. How many horses you work, mate?
We're probably doing around 30 odd at the moment. We'd try to keep it down to around 20, 25, but we got up to 40 odd there the other week and that. But yeah, probably around the 30 is a good number for us. We don't like to get too busy. I'm kind of over the days of the big teams.
You got a range of babies now. You also had thoroughbreds. Firstly, like about 5 thoroughbreds you said at the minute. How many thoroughbreds do you, I suppose, try to have it at, and how are they actually going?
Yeah, we're probably up to 5, and I probably wouldn't mind going more galloping than trotting if I could, but at the moment we're kind of pretty busy with the trotting. So 5 is probably a good number. We've got quite a nice team. We've got quite a nice galloper called Feeling the Power. He's won a listed race and placed in the Group 1s down here, so he's probably one of your better middle distance gallopers in the South Island. We're lucky to get him, and we've got another horse here, 2 starts for a first and a second, so it's a good enjoyment. It's a good out. Like, we're off to Riccarton track this morning for a bit of a change, and go the races with the gallopers. We kind of own them ourselves, so it's no pressure, so it's just a good bit of enjoyment, and the staff enjoy it too, so we're lucky someone can ride the work, and that makes it easier.
Well, so they can go into Riccarton and ride track work for you?
Yeah, and Gemma Thornley's been with us for a while, and she rides them in there or rides them here, and we take them to the beach out to Woody and at Bob Butts there, so it's pretty good. Like, all the galloping people are good to work with, so it's a good out for everybody and everyone enjoys it.
The gallopers, they'd love Woody and Beach. I was there yesterday and I took some photos. Like, when you walk that track, you don't realise actually how tough it is on the horses. I would imagine through a thoroughbred it'd be one very different, but it'd get them fit.
Yeah, to be fair, I walked out to watch my gallopers work once, and that's the last time I walked. She's pretty tough going through that sand, so it's a great thing. But again, a lot of work into them without actually knowing it. Yeah. So it keeps them pretty sharp, and the gallopers, it keeps them fresh as well. So to walk in the water afterwards, it's a great place. And you're able to work them around here, around the outside track as well? Yeah, we gallop them here, but probably do a lot of work just on the lead with the paces. So we kind of just, probably my own way of working the gallopers, and it seems to be working all right, and they just do a lot of long, slow stuff on the lead, and they're pretty good leaders, and they enjoy that, probably having a rider off their back for a change. So it's something different. They can come here and be in the paddock all their life, where in the big centres they live in the box 24/7, so they seem happier, and we're getting quite good results. You noted it getting horses going through and I suppose selling them to Australia, and that young horses and even going horses. The thoroughbreds, what do you prefer there? Do you prefer the young ones or the older ones? Or I've just got my first young one. I've always had old tried horses and just tried something different with them, and we've got one young one now by Watercree we'll hopefully get up and sell, because you do get pretty good money for the gallopers when you sell them. So I just want to try the older ones, just a different training method that I wanted to try, and the younger one's probably a bit harder to start from scratch, but she's a nice filly in that, so hopefully we can get her up and trial and sell her, and it's probably the aim with her. You enjoy that? You enjoy the challenge? Yeah, I love the challenge. That's why I probably got into the gallopers, just a new challenge. Like, I like to challenge myself, whatever I do, and something different in that, and I've never done it before, so it's a brand new challenge. I've driven, I've trained in that, so the gallopers was a good challenge for me. Standardbreds, you've done quite a bit. You I suppose buy, you sell, you send them to Australia, you race them here. You've got a big team of horses. You still enjoy it? Yeah, you got to enjoy it. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be doing it. Definitely days where you question yourself why you're doing it. But I love the animal and probably love the challenge, and I love working with the young ones to see them come through and making them into something. So that challenge will always be there. So I'll probably always be doing it. Trying to think of the mare you sent over for the Ladyship Mile. It's in foal now. Once she's back here, I gave her in New Zealand. Solish Memphis, that's her. So she arrived back a few weeks ago. She's done a great job, and Jack done a great job with her over there. So she, hopefully we get to train her progeny. Yeah. What's she in foal to? Captain Treacherous. Wow. Does that go through the sales, or do you keep that one? No, I think we keep them. Like Wayne, he's got a pretty good breed, and he's made a bit of money on the racetrack. So luckily we'll get to get their progeny and have a bit of fun with them. Keep your spring in your step going for a few years, knowing you got one of those coming across. You've done an awesome job in Australia. You've sent mares backwards to Australia for a period of time. Do you there's a future in that? Yeah, I think so. One thing I probably always do is I always put my owners and the horse first. So, like if it's in the best interest of the owners and the horse, that's where they go. I'm not one to keep the horses just to look after my own bank account. So the owners need money coming in, and Aussie's definitely the best place to race most horses, and especially the mares. So we've done it with good success, and it's been good for the owners. And the way it is, we'll probably continue to do it.
Like it said, and you and I did a podcast one day about keeping the mares, I suppose, and putting mares races on, or more mares races on here in New Zealand. It's the same issue in Australia, but keeping them, and I know I'm going to catch up with Katie Price in the next couple of days when I'm down in Invercargill, but keeping these mares and having these mares races, like you said then, you're going to keep Stylish Memphis as Captain Treacherous, but keeping this dollar turning, if you like, it seems an easy enough way to keep the industry flowing. If we can have good quality mares races on, so we don't have to sell them to the States and lose these superstars that go up there and never return to our shores. It's one of those things I know you're very passionate of, and so am I. I can see a huge result in it. And when you see Agent Orange's foal this year go through the sales, sometimes the big dollar that you get offered for these mares isn't always what it is cracked up to be, is it?
No, it's not. And I think, like we've got pretty big into the breeding here at our place. We've kind of, spent a lot of money on nice fillies and took them through to race. And even though we've sent them to, as you said, sent them to Aussie to race, we bring them back to breed from. And we need the breeding numbers in New Zealand to stay up. And, I've been coming to the Aussie sales for a few years, and everything we buy is still out of our New Zealand families, because Australia got a lot of our good blood. So it's pretty important that we keep the good blood in New Zealand if we can. And it's a shame that they don't look after mares as good as they should here. And we're going to have 2 Group 1 mares races a year in New Zealand, which is pretty poor. So it's a shame we lose them, but we've put the investment ourselves into keeping the fillies and mares here, and it's probably going to be, we'll get the rewards. We don't have to spend the big money to buy them at the sales. We can breed them, and we'll sell our colts. So, but I think more people should be, breeding horses to get. It's the cheapest way to get them.
I agree, and as I said with Katie Price, we're highlighting it the other day. They're big on that. They've had some massive returns on some of their breeds, and it is one of those ways. Everyone says there's not enough dollars in the game, but there are ways you can make it. You just got to sort of, I suppose, look at it a little bit differently. And if they put some more mares races on both sides of the ditch too, don't worry. I'm not just having a crack at HRNZ. I think in Australia they've got to do the same thing. You would have seen the same with Stylish Memphis. That there is good races over there, but they still could be a lot better.
Yeah, it's like she got pretty limited to what she could race in once she won a few, which is pretty bad when you start penalising horses too much for being successful. Like, we need those horses racing. You see the gallopers, they have their pin-up horses, and we seem to penalise our pin-up horses, and we need them racing more. So, prices do a great job. We know with breeding, it's, you have your ups and downs, you have your good years and bad years, and you need that. Like, if it was all good, we'd all be doing it. So, you got to ride that wave, and that's part of it. But when you have good days, it is. And so when you're breeding them, it's the cheapest way to get a horse. So I think it's definitely the future.
New South Wales, they have most of their good mares races leading into the Miracle Mile, which you were lucky enough to contest 3 years ago, Stylish Memphis. And then even Braveview Kelly this year. But those lead-up races. But then after that, they're taking on the older horses. It's the same in Victoria with the they have the it might actually be called the Kerrin Manning series. I'm not sure anyway. But there's a Make Mine Cullen and the Ladyship and those sorts of races. But then the same thing. These open class horses have got to take on the mares, and it'd be just nice to be able to give them the opportunity of taking on some more mares if you like going through.
Yeah, what you'd love to see is Australia and New Zealand sit down together and actually map out a series for 12 months where these mares can travel around each state and each country and just get consistent racing against each other, and then you create a bit of interest. And if people work together in the industry, it'd be a lot better for everybody. And if you had those after Sydney, you got to wait a while to the Brisbane Carnival, and then there's not much in New Zealand. But if everyone could work together and get a grand circuit for mares, it'll be great for everybody and create a lot of interest.
And then the betting turnover, because all of a sudden you've got all these good mares going around and in form and out of form, and we know mares can drop form. When a mare's in form, they keep it for a long time, but they can drop form very quickly, and there's always that raffle. So I reckon the betting turnover, that's what they're always big on. I don't care about it too much as such. I think there's other ways we can promote our industry, but when they talk about that, just some sort of consistent racing all the time, it'd be great to be able to run a form line through for some of these horses. Yeah,
that's what you need, consistent racing. The punters see them each week and that, and you see all those gallopers like the Animos and that going head to head each week and that. And mares are funny, like, you're dead right, they can be in and out pretty thing, and the pecking order changes a lot in mares. As the colts and that normally dominates, so you can create a lot of interest, and hopefully people are listening that might do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's not a hard fix, that's for sure. horses. You've got a few young ones. Do you enjoy the new season and the way the new season works? I suppose it gets a little bit tricky for trainers. One, you don't have to have them in work right now, but generally when it gets really cold, that's when you've got to start working them.
Yeah, we're always pretty busy through the winter. Like we work them, all the babies through the winter, and I haven't changed my program one bit because I don't normally race my 2-year-olds too early. But I think the calendar change in New Zealand was probably one of the best things I've seen happen in racing while I've been involved. And we'll get rewards down the track with the horses being better. And the owners are great to it. They know that they've got to be more patient, and you're just not putting the pressure on the horses as young ones. And as you're watching years to come, our good horses we have a lot more better good horses because they're looked after as young horses. So I think it's definitely one of the best things we've had.
Yeah, I think the longevity, because effectively most of them, even in Australia, they're not racing until after August, which effectively they would have been 3-year-olds in the old system. So I think that part's exciting. Staff-wise, mate, you've got plenty of staff here, but is it a bit of a battle over here?
Yeah, it's real hard to get the staff here. Like I've been lucky, I've had staff here I've been here for a long time, and hopefully they're here for a bit longer. But it's real tough to get the young people into the industry, and two of the galloping guys are the same as well. But and harness is extremely tough. Like there's not a lot of pathways into the industry in New Zealand, so it's probably one thing we could improve. And yeah, it is long hours and that. And I think if you talk to any trade in New Zealand, it's hard to get young people to work these days, and you really just got to love the horses to do it. And yeah, the kids' carts is a great thing here in New Zealand, and that's bringing a few through, but that's the only thing we've got. So it is very hard to get staff, and I know a lot of stables out there are struggling.
You're always man for bigger or different ideas. I haven't told you about this one either, but do you have an idea of how we could potentially get kids in it? Because I remember how I fell in love with them, and I'm sure you're probably the same thing. But is there a way that we can get kids? And you talk about kids' carts, but for the thoroughbreds, I don't even have that. So, is there a random idea that you might have that you can potentially get kids to fall in love with those horses and then want to do the long hours with them?
Yeah, it's probably a hard one because the pay's not too good in the harness game. But I don't know, you look at the galloping side of things, especially in Australia, that I follow quite closely, and the cadets things are these schools they have through that they can leave school and go to proper camps and that and get involved that way is probably the way to do it, because once they do get involved they do love it, and you get kids come out here on the weekend and they stay in the industry for life. So I think we've got to look at the younger people from school and make it part of the educational process from there, and we need a step after that where they can go into a camp or a scholarship type thing and go that way, but because otherwise we can't attract the young people that we need.
It's probably one of the things when you think about it, like I always say about the horses, but it's also the mateships and the friendships that you actually create in the game, and that's where it is a pretty cool game as compared to some poor bloke working in an office. They don't have that sort of, I suppose, outside social aspect of the game. Like it is long hours and shitty weather from time to time, great weather other times, but the mates that you can I suppose have is one of the best parts about our industry, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. They're great people in the industry, and I've been lucky. I've travelled the world, and you've got friends all around the world. And if you work in office, you don't get the joys of that. And you get the races. It's more about the people and that you meet in that. And it's a great camaraderie and racing, throughout the world. And it's it's one thing you'd never get in an office, and working that 9 to 5's not as good as it probably seems. And it is long hours in the harness, but it's a lifestyle, and every day is different. So it's a good thing about it.
I love it, Mark. Thank you very much, mate. I could talk to you all day. Just horses to follow, ones that you're going to keep racing. Have we got any in at the minute for? I don't always worry about the punters, but just one that people might be able to keep an eye on for a while going through. Yeah,
probably not a lot coming through at the moment. Probably Hot to Trot might come to Aussie for the Brisbane Carnival, the trotter, and probably a young maiden trotter called Air I Will, I think, is probably due to step out next month or so. But what you see racing at the moment is kind of what I got. So it's kind of the next few months will be concentration on the young ones, and hopefully there's a champion amongst them.
Is that one of the horses I videoed just before, Air I Will?
That was him out in front, so he had the top weight on today, so you'll appreciate a lightweight race day.
He will indeed. Mark, thank you. Thank you very much for giving me the time, mate. Beautiful place here, and I'll catch up with you again. Hopefully I'll catch up with you in Brisbane for the Brisbane Carnival, not that far away, so thank you very much, mate.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Cheers.